All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I wanted to go over a few different topics today. We're actually going to switch gears just a little bit away from more of the clinical mentorship side and actually do more content that's related to more of a general audience. My name is Nick Ussery. I'm a physical therapist and a board-certified orthopedic clinical specialist, and I want to go over a bunch of different things from the fitness and wellness community, as well as some different tools that you can utilize within your daily life to help you feel better and to ultimately be able to be as healthy as possible. So today I wanted to talk over the vagus nerve, and we're going to go over some different considerations in regards to the anatomy and physiology of what this nerve is in the body, but also how we can utilize it at home to best manage some of our stressful daily lives. So stay tuned to the video. Let's talk about the anatomy, and then I'll go over a little bit of a trick that you can use at home to be able to stimulate your vagus nerve. Let's start with the name. Vagus comes from the Latin word for wandering, and it earns that title honestly. It is cranial nerve 10 and is the longest and most complex nerve in your autonomic nervous system. Unlike most nerves that stay local to your head or spine, the vagus nerve originates right in the brainstem, and it wanders down through the neck, passing right past your carotid sheath, into your chest, and branching out across almost all your major visceral organs, including your heart, lungs, liver, stomach, and the intestines. Functionally, the vagus nerve is the primary driver of your parasympathetic nervous system. This is often called the rest and digest system. It acts as a massive bidirectional communication highway between your brain and your viscera. About 80% of its fibers are afferent, meaning they send sensory signals up from your organs to your brain, telling your central nervous system about the state of your body. About 20% are efferent, meaning they send signals down from your brain to slow your heart rate, constrict your airways, and stimulate digestion. When it's active, it lowers your heart rate, dials down systemic inflammation via the cholinergic anti-inflammatory pathway, and pulls your body out of chronic fight or flight. Now, medical science has used implanted vagus nerve stimulators for years to treat drug-resistant epilepsy and severe depression. But researchers discovered something fascinating. Because a branch of the vagus nerve, called the auricular branch or Alderman's nerve, innervates the skin of the outer ear, we can stimulate it non-invasively from the surface. This is known as transcutaneous auricular vagus nerve stimulation, or taVNS for short. Let's walk through how to set this up safely using a standard dual-channel TENS unit and specialized ear clip electrodes. All right, so welcome to the practical aspect of this video, and I really want to talk over how we can use a TENS unit to stimulate our vagus nerve. So some of the major materials that you'll need to get, you can find all this stuff on Amazon. Roughly startup cost, probably gonna cost you like 35 to 50 bucks. I'm using an analog dual channel TENS unit, and I find these to be some of the most reliable. Some of the other ones with more of the digital displays, I feel like can get a little bit cumbersome and kind of hard to figure out from time to time. The other things that you will need are some electrodes. So most times the electrodes will come with the unit itself, so you may have a very minimal cost to entry to get into these. And then finally, one thing I do recommend to order, because we know now that the vagus nerve has its more external distributions along the inner ear and along the outside of the ear, we're going to utilize an ear clip attachment. And so this is a little ear clip attachment that has a positive and a negative anode and cathode that you can set up on the ear itself. There's two primary locations that you want to set this up on. You can either use the concha, which is this outer little hoop or loop in the ear, or I more personally like to utilize the tragus, which is the main portion of your ear that you're going to push in on whenever you hear a loud noise. So we've really seen from the research that the vagus nerve will actually supply 100% innervation into the inner portion of the ear where the concha is, but you're still getting a very large amount of the vagus nerve innervation on the tragus itself. I want to show you some of my setups for how to set up the TENS unit, because I think this is a very important thing. And again, one big consideration to take into thought here is if you have any sort of cardiovascular condition like a pacemaker, anything that's really electrical running through your body, whether it be a spinal cord stimulator or something like that, please just talk to your doctor. I do not recommend using a TENS unit if you have anything electrical wired or going through your body. But let's go over some of the setup together. So I'm going to flash a little section on the screen up here for the actual parameters to set up the unit. But for your pulse frequency, you're actually going to do anywhere from about 180 to 220 pulses per second. I actually personally have mine set up at around 200. For the pulse rate, you're actually going to do anywhere from roughly 15 to 30. I like to set mine at 20, but some people feel like they get a little bit more stimulation in the lower ranges, like that 15 to 18 range. For the actual unit yourself, you want it just in the normal mode. So the little center dial, just switch it to the letter N. And then setting the timer wise for this, you can do this for as long as about 25 minutes. So I have my timer set up on 15 minutes just for safety's sake. But some nights, if I'm really wanting to wind down, I'll actually use it for a little bit longer, and I'll probably go for about 25 minutes tops. But you can do this up to 3 times a day, which is a really handy tool for utilizing the TENS unit at home. I do want to talk about some other considerations that you can utilize to naturally stimulate your vagus nerve as well, but this is an awesome tool that you can do that is a really small barrier to entry. While gadget-based stimulation is fascinating, you don't actually need a TENS unit to influence your vagus nerve. Your body has a built-in endogenous mechanism to tone and activate it every single day. Here are 3 of the most scientifically backed ways to stimulate your vagus nerve naturally. The first is through resonant breathing with prolonged exhale. When you inhale, your heart rate naturally speeds up slightly. But when you exhale, the vagus nerve releases acetylcholine to slow your heart rate down. By breathing in for a count of 4 and exhaling slowly for a count of 6 or 8 seconds, you directly engage that parasympathetic brake. The second way that we can induce stimulation to the vagus nerve is by vocalization, singing, or even gargling. The vagus nerve passes right by your vocal cords and the muscles at the back of your throat. Activities such as humming, singing out loud, or vigorously gargling water activates these motor fibers, and this provides mechanical stimulation to the nerve pathways in the pharynx and larynx. The final way, and one of my favorite ways, is actually cold exposure. So briefly splashing ice cold water on your face or taking a cool shower triggers the mammalian dive reflex. This instantly stimulates vagal outflow, rapidly dropping your heart rate and shifting your autonomic balance. All right, so we covered a lot of information in this video, and overall, these could be some really good tools that you can use at home to stimulate your vagus nerve. As a quick recap, we talked about using a TENS unit for transcutaneous auricular vagus nerve stimulation. And then some of the more natural processes that we can use for stimulating the vagus nerve include 3 different things. So the first thing you can do is doing more some of your periodized breathing. So you're really focusing on doing that slow exhale after a brief inhale. Typically we want to shoot for about 6 to 8 seconds on the exhale. The second thing that you can do is vocalization. So a lot of us, whenever we're trying to de-stress at home, we can hum, we can sing, and then another way that we can actually stimulate the pharynx and larynx in the back of the throat is by gargling water too. And then one of my favorite ways, especially first thing in the morning, but even at nighttime after I take a warm shower, is I like to utilize the mammalian dive reflex by splashing my face with cold water. The vagus nerve will supply a lot of our sensory stimulation, especially around the ears. So another great tool that you can utilize at home. Thanks so much for watching the video overall, and please just give me a like and subscribe. And if you want, give me a comment down below some things that you'd like to see or some questions that you have that you want to ask of your physical therapist. I'd be happy to try to answer them as best I can. Thanks so much for watching.